Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-host Cody Chandler on this Forget About It Friday. How you doing today, Cody?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. It's a stupid game. Stupid Thursday night football game. I don't know. I'm doing okay though, James. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm glad the weekend's here. I'm freaking exhausted. And it didn't make it any better watching that miserable performance from our beloved Steelers last night.
Yeah, it wasn't a good time. Was not enjoyable by any means. You know who did enjoy it? One of my managers at work by the name of Cody. His name is also Cody Dow. He enjoyed it. He was texting me during the game, being a little, smart ass. That's okay. He's like, Zappy, and I'm like, no, bro. But he's a Patriots fan, and you know what? I don't even know what to say because the Patriots, I don't want to say they deserved the win, but man, we didn't do anything to deserve it whatsoever. Like, you can argue, hey, we got a 2-point conversion, or hey, we made it a close game at the end. This on paper should have been a blowout, even with Mitch Trubisky in there, even with Mason Rudolph in there. And you knew we knew what they were going to do. We talked about it. We've been destroyed by tight ends the whole year. We knew Juju was going to come in with a chip on his shoulder, and he did. I don't know, James. I don't know where the team goes from here. I don't know what's next.
They need to make some adjustments for sure, man. Lots of adjustments. Just New England came in with a good game plan. You expect that from a head coach like Bill Belichick.
Mm-hmm.
He does his homework. He knows what you're good at. He knows what he's good at, and he plays to those strengths. It's just that in most situations, the other team can overcome that situation. To me, it was pretty obvious. We talked about it last week. We talked about it before the game. With the way that we got beat up by tight ends against the Cardinals, that was a big concern, especially with the ability of the Patriots tight ends being so much better than what it was with the Arizona Cardinals, and that exactly was the problem. Once again, got beat up by tight ends, got beat up in one-on-one situations by Juju. He had a tremendous game against us, and we just didn't have answers for it all game long. They came out with the starting middle linebacker duo of Mykal Walker and Mark Robinson, and they just got torched the entire first possession, which to the coaching staff's benefit, they did immediately pull those guys. We saw a heavy dose of Elandon Roberts and Blake Martinez the rest of the way, and they were able to at least put a tourniquet on the wound, slow the bleeding, and then completely stop it in the second half. But at that point, you're down 21-3, and does the offense have enough capability to come back from it? And the answer in this game, unfortunately, was no. And just a lot of poor decisions. We always start with the quarterback play in the game. I was extremely frustrated by what I saw from Mitch Trubisky in this game. Just a lot of decisions where it would be 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 4, and he's bombing it deep instead of trying to get the first down. It'd be one thing if he was a guy that has a really accurate deep ball, but he's not.
Yeah.
He didn't really complete any of them all night, except for one deep to Allen Robinson late in the game that didn't matter anymore when the game was basically
And I wouldn't
over.
even call that deep. That was kind of middle of the field.
Yeah, like 20, 25 yards or something. Not really a deep bomb.
It was open because they were playing so much prevent defense. I don't even know what the plan was with that play. Going back and watching that a couple times.
It's probably going to be, get it downfield and start pitching the ball because what else are you going to do? I mean, you're certainly not going to throw a jump ball to your jump ball specialists like George Pickens and Darnell Washington.
Nope.
That is not going to happen for sure, So, and that was one of the other frustrating things is once again in this game, we saw all the deep balls went to Deontay Johnson. He's not the specialist in that. That's George Pickens. And it just shows that Mitch is going to, when he's not sure, he's going to default to throwing to Deontay no matter what.
Deontay,
and that's a real problem.
7 targets, 3 catches for Deontay. George Pickens, 6 targets and 5 catches.
And look at the ridiculously low amount of yards.
19.
All the passes to George Pickens were just, what was it? What was the yardage? I'm sorry.
19 on 5 catches.
On 5. Insane. That's usually what he does per catch.
That's less than 5. That's less than 5 yards a catch because they do the stupid screenplays with no blockers in front of them, poorly designed.
Not even 4.
I know. I'm just rounding,
yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, not even 4 yards a catch. That's insane. Like, just so much at the line of scrimmage, behind the line of scrimmage, only a yard downfield. George Pickens standing stationary instead of stretching the field like he's good at.
Yep.
It just felt the decision making was pretty atrocious. And the only thing worse than that was ball placement. I felt like there was probably 5 or 6 very interceptable balls. One that ended up in interception. The second one that happened but was called back because of penalty. And just poor timing, not seeing open guys, and so many interceptable balls. So they got to make a change. I don't see Mitch Trubisky just suddenly playing a lot better next week.
No.
I don't see him gaining his confidence. He's going to be going against a much better team in the Indianapolis Colts than what the Patriots are.
Yep.
And you got all week long. In fact, you have a couple extra days than normal. Maybe it's time to pull the plug and let Mason Rudolph give it a shot and see if he can do any better, because the season's on the line right now. They fell from the 5 seed to the 8th seed because of this loss. And a lot of these teams
and
now control their destiny.
Potentially further, depending on
depending on how this weekend plays out. If you want it to continue getting worse, keep on marching Mitchell Trubisky out there, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Is it will get worse.
Keep on taking teams not serious. Keep on expecting to come out and win games. Keep coming out slow in the first half. Keep not making changes during possession changes. Keep doing all the things. Insanity is just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And expecting different results. And that's what we're doing. Like, don't get me wrong. We've made some changes after the Matt Canada, firing or departure, however you want to call it. And you notice the differences. I don't think we would throw consistently for 190, 200 yards with Matt Canada in there. I don't think certain things would have happened, but the play calls would be different, but the score would still be the same. We're not putting up points. Granted, 18 is a lot in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, but this is an offense. This on paper, we are putting up 35 a game, 30 minimum a game. There's the talent on this team is so far surpasses most other teams. I think the biggest thing, we're missing an offensive leader. We do not have an offensive voice in that locker room, in my opinion. And then we're also just allowing the standard to lower itself, in my opinion. Mike Tomlin always says the standard is the standard. I don't think that means squat anymore, because clearly the standard's losing to 2-win teams in December, which is just ridiculous.
The standard that is being set, they're not meeting the standard. The standard is the same standard, but they're not meeting the standard, and that's a big problem. You have to start making wholesale changes. You can't just say, oh, well, the execution was bad. The execution was bad. I mean, that's obvious the execution is bad. It's obvious. I mean, you got Michael Walker falling in the end zone and his guy catching a touchdown. You got DeMonte KZ trying to undercut a pass and it goes over his fingertips and it's an easy touchdown.
Yep.
You got an interception by Michael Walker that he returns to the 16 and you don't even get a field goal.
Yep.
Like, that's execution. You get a blocked punt and you don't get a touchdown on it.
Yep.
Like, these kind of things you have to take advantage of. When your defense hands you a field that you only need to go 16 yards to get a touchdown, you have to do it.
And I don't believe the block punt counts as a turnover. That's a turnover, in my opinion. Sure, you're getting the ball back either way, but
you're getting great field position.
Drastically different field position from the average kick return or punt return, excuse me. Just Pittsburgh put themselves. The defense did well. I mean, we even talked about this before the show. We allowed 21 points. That was crappy. They removed some players. They did some things. They made changes on defense. We didn't allow a single point in the second half. Granted, they didn't seem super worried about scoring because I think they realized that our offense can't do anything anyways. They didn't have the same kind of play style in the second half that they did in the first. Offense, there were no changes made at halftime. None. You just expected things to start working. Oh, hey, this didn't work. Like, let's try it again. Get out. Make sure you get out there and get your blockers. No, they're not doing it. You're not throwing the ball to the right players. You're not putting guys in situations to win. A good coach, and this is kind of, I'm not necessarily talking about Mike Tomlin or the offensive coordinators. I'm saying somebody somewhere, a good coach puts their playmakers in a position to make plays. A good quarterback understands that as well. We'll talk about the interception before. I mean, we're going to do a stat breakdown at some point. I promise we'll get to it. But at some point, on the interception, Pat Freiermuth kind of gave up on his route a little bit. I agree. A part of that interception was on him. He could have turned it into a defender. But Mitch Trubisky threw a ball to get Pat Freiermuth concussed. No doubt about it.
And he had 2 of them last year. So Pat has to be cognizant of that and also, just to be fair to Mason or to Mitch on this play, he got hit in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And there was absolutely no foul. The ball kind of just flopped out there. It was not like a bullet. It was not a well-thrown ball. And it had everything to do with the fact that he got hit in the face as he threw the ball. That being said, I wouldn't expect Pat to go out there and try to catch that ball, because if he gets concussed again, man, his career might be over. Yep. He can't just go laying out over the middle when he knows there's a linebacker and a safety sitting there waiting to rip his head off, especially when he sees it just kind of fluttering like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say sitting there waiting to take his head. I mean, they were both full steam going for where that ball was going.
Yep, absolutely. So, yeah, and then multiple times throughout the course of the game, we just saw balls being thrown that were super interceptable. Defenders getting their hands on it pretty easily. Yeah, so I mean, you look at Mitch from the game, and he goes 22 for 35 for 190 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
That stat line looks too good. It looks too average. It was
way better than what he played. He played so much worse than that stat line, and it's not that good of a stat line.
Yeah. Yep. And then let's talk about the passing. You had that stupid trick play that.
You know what the worst part about that is, Cody?
What?
It was there.
Oh, it was. It
was wide open. Connor didn't put enough air under the ball. He didn't get it over the defender. If he did, it's an easy touchdown, and Darnell Washington walks in the end zone.
I think he catches that ball in the end zone, honestly.
Yeah. If he catches it, it's like a 1. He's just trotting in.
But my frustration with that play call is not the play call itself. It's the fact that we realize we can't score playing regular football.
Yeah.
That's the frustrating part. Because if this was an old Ben Roethlisberger run team with Bruce Arians or Ken Wisenhunt, we run that play and it gets knocked down, I'm like, dang, like that was a good try. I don't feel that way now. I feel like we're looking for trick ways to score because we can't score as a regular football team. We can't throw the ball to our 6'6" tight ends or to the jump high ball enthusiast freak of nature, George Pickens. Like, you can't hammer the ball down the defense's throat with a 6'4" running back, Najee Harris. Like, it's ridiculous the ways that we are able to score, but can't, like that we should be able to. So again, I don't mean to go off on tangents. I'm just wildly, wildly frustrated with this team.
No, yeah, that's the way it's going to go after a performance like that. That's kind of what they expect. That's kind of what they deserve for playing like that. I mean, we move on to the rushing performance, if you want to call it that. And your top rusher was Mitch Trubisky with 8 carries for 30 yards, had the best average of everybody as well. Najee Harris, 12 for 29. Calvin Austin, 1 for 12. That was probably one of the best runs of the entire game, other than the scramble from Mitch on the very first offensive play where he also got like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And then Jalen Warren, 7 carries for 11 yards. Like, man, that was a miserable performance from the rushing unit. But we knew their run deep was good.
Yeah.
So you needed to come to play. And, anytime they tried to go jumbo, again, you had guys lining up wrong and illegal formation calls. And it just, they could not capitalize. And they appear to be trying, at least, to go with jumbo sets and bring extra offensive linemen out there, which is something I've been calling for weeks now. But they can't even get them to line up right, man. That's an issue, man. You got to be calling this out in practice. If they're not lining up right in practice, it has to be. Let me rephrase. They must not be lining up right in practice, and it's not getting corrected, because otherwise you'd be lining up right in the game.
Yep.
They're consistently lining up incorrectly in the games in these jumbo formations and getting called, and it's a 5-yard penalty, and now you can't even use the same formation anymore.
Yep.
Because now it's not a goal line situation anymore. You got to back it off and bring extra wide receivers on.
Yep. It's time to have a full pad practice with
nothing but full pads.
Yeah, with refs
and some refs.
With refs there. Yep, 100%.
And not high school ones. You need some dang pro refs that can actually identify an illegal formation.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know. Let's talk about the receiving room. We talked about Deontay. Yeah. He led the team in reception yards, but only had 3 catches on 7 targets in that touchdown. Which again, I don't even remember this touchdown. Did he?
Oh, I'll tell you all about the touchdown, man. That was Mitch throwing off his back foot. He was backpedaling and he just kind of bombed it. Yeah. Just kind of bombed it. He threw it over the wrong shoulder. It was actually one heck of a catch by Deontay Johnson. Because he was looking over his right shoulder and it was thrown over his left. And he kind of contorted his whole body without switching his head. Because if you switch your head, you lose eye contact with the ball. And then you might not catch it. He did one hell of a job to still catch that ball. I'm actually very happy with his performance in this game. I didn't feel like he did a bad job. When balls were incomplete in his direction, it was typically because it was a ball thrown so poorly he had no chance of catching it. Yeah. So I did feel like Deontay actually helped quite a bit in this game. And even that catch, that's a poorly thrown ball with bad technique that Deontay bailed out Mitch.
Yep.
And it helped the comeback start. They were unable to complete the comeback, but you're down 21-3, and that touchdown gets you back in the game. So it was a very instrumental one. Just unfortunately not given enough good opportunities. Even at the end, you're 4th and 2, you're throwing it 40 yards downfield to Deontay, and it's not even a catchable ball.
Yep. Yeah, looking back at that drive, it's just I mean, quite frankly, the only reason we had that drive end at any points is you had the pass interference call on Pat Fryermuth. You had really not a whole lot go. I mean, you had the one successful run play outside of the scramble with the Calvin Austin run for 12 yards, but nothing else in that game or in that drive. Even, I mean, you had a pass to Jalen Warren for 12 yards. So you had 2 12-yard plays. You had a 5-yard play, a 4-yard play, a 2-yard play, another 5-yard play, which is, don't get me wrong, that's not bad. But then you had that big pass interference, and then another 5-yard play, and then the 25-yard touchdown. Like, that, even though it ended in a touchdown, I don't feel like that was a good drive. I feel like it was a saved drive for him.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the turnover on downs. I can't believe that stupid pitch throw to Jalen Warren when Mitch couldn't find anyone, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
And then you also had him throw a deep bomb to, I believe it was Deontay, overthrown when you had George Pickens on the other side of the field one-on-one. And Deontay was double covered by, with the safety and the corner. There was so much wrong with this game. Also, go ahead.
One of the most frustrating parts to me in this is we're getting to the end of the season, right? There's not a lot of at this stage. 4 games left, 5 games left.
Yeah.
We have 2 specialists in one-on-one jump ball opportunities, and it has gotten to the point where it's not even being used. Like, week after week, we're not seeing a single jump ball.
I mean, you could argue we have 3.
It blows my mind.
You could argue we have 3 if you include Darnell in that. Darnell's winning.
Well, I was including Darnell.
Oh, sorry.
I was talking George Pickens and Darnell as
Pat
jump ball
specialists. Too going to win a jump ball for the most part.
Yeah, he doesn't really do that though.
That's fair, but
that's not really his game. But he's at least a size mismatch guy. It goes to the same point though. I see what you're saying. He's a 6'6", 200, almost 60-pound tight end who, if you hit him on the move, he gains extra yards. And yeah, 1 week it's in the game plan, and the next week it's not, and it's incredible to see the difference in the two.
Yeah.
Let's crank through the rest of these receivers and move on to another
Yeah.
position. So
Okay.
Jalen Warren had 4 catches on the game for 29 yards. That was on 5 targets. Allen Robinson 1 for 21 on 3 targets. That was the one at the end of the game that he tried to pitch.
It wasn't even 20 yards because he definitely caught
Yeah,
that and then went 1 or 2 yards downfield.
yeah. Najee Harris 3 dump offs for 19 yards. Caught everything thrown his way. George Pickens, as you said, 5 catches for 19 yards on 6 targets. Pat Fryermuth was targeted 7 times with only 3 catches for 18 yards. He was just draped all over all day long, and a lot of those balls were just not even close to catchable for him. Connor Hayward, 2 catches for 15 yards, caught both balls thrown his way. I'll give him credit on that one that was thrown to him on the right side of the field near the sideline.
Yeah.
Made a heck of a play to hurdle that one defender and then stretch out and get that first down.
Yeah, that was on
I
3rd
didn't
down,
think he
was
was
it
going to
not?
get it. I believe, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I thought it was going to be a drive killer, and then he made an excellent play to go get that first. Darnell Washington with 1 catch for 12 yards on 2 targets. At least he's getting a catch every week now. He wasn't even getting targeted for the first half of this season.
Yeah.
So that's a step in the right direction there. But again, we need better utilization just out of everybody on their strengths.
Well,
Use them
again,
to their strengths, please.
his 2 targets, the second target came from Connor Hayward, so
Yeah.
which should have been completed. But again, I mean, you're thrown to a tight end and getting 12 yards on one play. I don't understand why we're not doing that more. That you want to talk about
like
making
nonstop.
routine plays routinely? It's right there. It's right there with our tight end
Yeah.
group. In defensive side, well, offensive line. I was happy with how Broderick Jones played. I thought he was playing with a lot of aggression, a lot of anger, almost frustration. It looked like, and he was protective of certain players and blocking well on plays that were runs to his side. And I don't think he didn't do enough in this game. Who was it? Somebody who got called for the it wasn't a hold. What was it? I'm brain farting on this one. It may not matter.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're referencing. I was a little disappointed in Darnell's blocking in this game. Twice he got beat real bad by number 33 of the Patriots.
Yep.
Just thrown aside the one time, and then the second time he just overset and the guy went inside him. In both times on run plays, which made it so that the running back had absolutely nowhere to go. So they've got to do a better job on that. And a lot of times I felt the same about like inside run plays. You'd see both defensive tackles beat their guy. Whether it be Mason Cole and Isaac Seumalo or Mason Cole and James Daniel, Mason seemed to be the common denominator in it. Just not good enough. You got to be able to at least get a stalemate in those one-on-one blocking situations and not get thrown aside.
Yeah.
Like that's not good enough. You have to at least hold your own so that when the running back gets there, if the two of you are both pushing against the defender, you're going to go forward. You're going to get some yards, and instead you got 2 defenders going against the running back and nobody there to help. So just nowhere near good enough consistency. And again, this was like a top 5 rushing defense. So we expected them to be good, but that means that you need to have a good game plan for it. That means that you need to be double teaming guys and then working to the next level. And I just didn't see enough of that.
No, it's almost like they didn't watch film at all, is what it really feels like. Because, we don't even watch the Patriots game and we understand their play. We understand their strengths, and nothing's being done to play towards their weaknesses or to rival their strengths. Which is just really, really, really incredibly frustrating, in my opinion. On the defensive side of the ball, Cam Hayward got a sack. Cam Hayward was very involved. I felt like he had a really good game on penetration and everything. Joey Porter.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Let's stick with defense line. I'm bouncing around.
Okay.
Montravius Adams we got to see him play a little bit. I didn't feel like there was anything fantastic there.
No, I felt like it was a blah performance. Not bad, not great, somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, same thing with Armon Watts and Larry Ogunjobi. Keanu Benton went down early with an injury, and then came back in. So I don't know what that injury was or what that entailed.
Yeah, he returned. He kind of got pancaked on a play, so I wouldn't be surprised.
He got held on the play and then fallen on top of. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
That wasn't called. And I want to get to something too when we go later to that I just forgot about, but we'll get there. You want to talk about the linebackers?
Yeah. So like we mentioned with the middle linebacker, first two on the field were Michael Walker and Mark Robinson. Mark Robinson seemed to be pretty much pulled for the game after that. Mike Howell played a little bit here and there, and then it was mostly Landon Roberts and Blake Martinez. And I thought Blake Martinez looked decent in the game, was involved in a lot, only showed up with 3 tackles total on the game. But Landon Roberts, I thought, was really explosive multiple times, blowing up offensive linemen, just coming, barreling in full speed and just hitting somebody as hard as he could. Um, and I felt like he was very disruptive in the game. And I was honestly shocked how able he was after just injuring his groin 4 days previous. So I don't know if they just really numbed out of that whole area for him, and he was able to play through it because of it, or what. But I felt like he was one of the lone bright spots in the linebacker unit, other than obviously the interception from Michael Walker, but it did really just kind of fall in his lap, and that was a pass breakup by Landon Roberts that made that happen.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, that was a great pass breakup on him. And it was against Juju Smith Schuster, which I enjoyed. Um After that, when you look at the outside linebackers, Nick Herbig came in for the injured Alex Highsmith, who injured his neck in this game, didn't return. I thought Nick Herbig played very well. He should have had a sack. Luckily, they called holding on the play, so that at least they got moved back on that play. TJ Watt should have also had 1 or 2 sacks. I'm surprised they didn't give him a half sack for the one, but he ended up with this game with 0 sacks.
I kind of wasn't surprised because by the time TJ got his hand in there, the QB was on the ground already.
That's fair.
So, yeah.
But TJ did have 1 tackle for loss. He ended up with 4 tackles on the game. Alex Highsmith only had 1 tackle on the game before his injury.
Yeah, that was in the first quarter or early
like
in the second, wasn't it? It was early.
I think it was the second or third. No, it was like the 3rd drive for them.
Yeah.
Which would have been the last drive in the. Nope, hang on. For their first drive was a touchdown. The last drive of the first quarter, I'm pretty sure, was when he got hurt.
Yeah. Which is rough because in this game we had Marcus Golden was down, right? He was one of the inactive.
Yep.
So with him being down as an inactive, you only had one backup outside linebacker. Sometimes in that situation, they'll use DeMarvin Leal. Oh yeah, he was also inactive.
Yeah, we never went over the inactives.
Yeah, did we skip right by the inactives?
We did. We just got into it.
Yeah. So and that's fine. You know, it was Kenny Pickett, Anthony McFarland, James Pierre, Marcus Golden, Dylan Cook, DeMarvin Leal. So that was your inactive list, and you know, we've been talking about how there's been a lessening of the snaps for DeMarvin Leal. Last year, he did see some snaps at outside linebacker, and he shows some ability as a pass rusher as outside linebacker. More effective than he has been this year as a defensive tackle pass rushing because he hasn't had any effectiveness there at all. He's been better against the run than he has been pass rushing.
Yeah.
So just I'm concerned about that in the future. If Marcus Golden had an injury creep up that he was unable to go, and now Alex Highsmith has a neck injury, TJ is dealing with an ankle, that means Nick Herbig's the only healthy outside linebacker in the room. So I kind of hope that they're open to allowing Leal to get some at outside linebacker again, just because I feel like the room all of a sudden is pretty heavily injured.
Yeah. Yep. I hope that we can see some improvement here with the health on the depth on the outside linebacker. I really hope that nothing's majorly wrong with Highsmith's neck. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tomlin in the post game press conference interview just said he had a neck injury of some description. That's all he said. So
yeah, he probably didn't even know at the time.
No, and I'm sure that they'll get information on that today if they already haven't.
Tuesday. Yeah, we'll find out in the Tomlin Tuesday press conference.
Let's talk the secondary because it was, I don't want to say a bright spot. I mean, it really wasn't, especially early. I mean, you allowed their tight end to get 2 touchdowns on the game. Again, all of this coming in the first half. I thought they played much better in the second half, and so did the defense as a whole. But you had Joey Porter Jr. ending up with 4 tackles. He did allow a couple catches to Juju, if I'm not mistaken. DeMonte KZ showing up with 3 tackles. But again, we talked about this before the show. he can't guard anybody. He can't keep up. He can't guard. He can't stop a play.
And he keeps on just barely missing interceptions, and when he does,
Yep.
sometimes it goes for big plays the other way.
Yep.
And his lack of size has everything to do with it, unfortunately. It sucks because, when he's good, man, is he good. He gets his hands on the ball a lot, breaks up a lot of stuff. He's got 2 picks on the year. He contributes in a positive manner, but I feel like in every down strong safety, it's just a stretch of a role for him.
Yeah. Patrick Peterson, 3 tackles on the game. Minka had 5 total, 2 solo, 3 assists.
Minka almost had a pick in this game too, and they don't
Mhm.
have him listed as a pass deflection. So I don't think all the pass deflections are being listed here because I remember him almost getting an interception on the sideline.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that low one.
Mhm.
The one thing that I will say about Minka, if I remember correctly, he was involved, and so was the defensive front in the 1 4th down stop, where they tried to do a QB sneak with Zappy that just got stuffed,
Mhm.
which was really nice to see. Somebody came up over the top. I can't remember who it was. Could have been Minka, for all I know. But then you also had Levi
I
Wallace with
feel like it
this.
was either Minka or it was Nick Herbig. It was one of the two of them.
It might have been Herbig.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Herbig was very active in this game,
He
man.
was.
It was his first time getting an extended amount of snaps. He was unable to register any like sacks or forced fumbles, but lots of tackles. And in this lists him as 1 tackle for loss. He had 2 very early on in his appearance on the field. So again, what we're looking at on the NFL.com statistics are definitely not correct because he had 2 in a matter of the first 2 drives.
Was one called back because of a penalty?
Possibly, I guess that would erase it.
I think I vaguely remember that being a thing. I could be completely wrong. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But I think one might have got called back because of either a penalty on us or them. I can't remember. Levi Wallace having 1 tackle on the game. It sucks because I'm gonna very blatantly and bluntly say it was not enough for the defense for us to win. And what I mean by that is this team hasn't scored more than 10 points in the last 3 weeks, and we gave up 21 in the first half. Like, that is a defensive problem. That is a defensive weakness. I can't overlook that. However, the offense against a team that is a 2-win team needs to put up enough points to win the game, which is just frustrating.
And when you look at what their offense did, I mean, Ezekiel 68 yards rushing, but it's on 22 attempts. That's only 3 yards a carry.
Yep.
Receiving wise, Juju was their best wide receiver with 4 catches. Ty Montgomery with 1, Tyquan Thornton with 3. Like the wide receivers didn't hurt us that much, other than Juju getting a lot of yards with catches. It was pretty much the tight ends and Ezekiel Elliott.
Yep.
That's where it came. Zeke had 7 catches for 72 yards, and one of them was a touchdown. And Hunter Henry, 3 catches, 40 yards, 2 of them were touchdowns. Like, that's where we got hurt, and that's linebackers and typically safeties responsible for stopping those guys.
Yep.
So that's where it's the most frustrating to me, is that we look forward, and I'm happy to see that Blake Martinez got the burn that he did. I'm happy to see Landon Roberts was able to play. But I don't expect the level of play to increase by either one of them.
Nope.
Miles Jack is the only one left that can save this linebacker core.
And it's not even guaranteed to happen.
No, at this point, he's not proven enough in practice for them to be willing to throw him out there, which means he still might not be in game shape, man. He wasn't playing football.
Yeah, he retired.
He retired
he retired in the middle of the off, or like the preseason.
At the end of the preseason. Yeah. He didn't make the Eagles roster, and that's when he retired, and he moved on. So there's a chance he really hadn't worked out for like the last 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah, in 3 months without working out, after you've done the type of training that NFL players do, you're going to see some body transformation, physical attribute loss, stamina, strength, all that stuff if you're not doing the same kind of routines. So yeah, I'm curious to see what they do with this moving forward. Special teams, because it matters too. Boswell was 1 for 1 on field goal, 1 for 1 on extra point. We talked about the Miles Killebrew block kick, but the one thing that we didn't talk about yet was the blatant penalty for encroachment on the defense on a punt by us, and they happened to call it a false start I don't know what they call it, erratic movement or something on the center,
Yeah,
which was
they
just
they claimed
ridiculous.
that it was like a very sudden movement,
And it was not.
and it was not. And the head of officiating said, "There's no way you call that." The both of the commentators even said that's an absurd call. And it's a game changer because it should have been a first down for Pittsburgh for that.
Yeah, and here's the thing that people say, and I had this discussion with somebody last night after the game. That is not the reason Pittsburgh lost. I understand that,
No,
but you can argue that it played a factor. I don't care
it
what
did.
anyone says. Hey, they got the ball back x number of times after that, and they didn't score. You're right, but that was demoralizing. It's demoralizing when
Yeah.
you have something go against you that much, and you can argue mental health, this and that, being stronger than the situation. I get it. I understand completely. But man, was that a blow. That team was so excited. I've never seen Presley Harvin has downed a ball at the 1 yard line and never been that
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
So it was so frustrating and demoralizing and ripped down the momentum that they might have been building for that drive. So no, it's not the reason they lost, but it 100% played a factor in the outcome of the game, in my opinion. Whether we
Yeah.
scored again for the entire game or not, it plays a role,
I
it plays an
agree.
impact. And I think that
I
needed
agree.
that
It was
needed to be reviewed.
demoralizing.
Yeah, that needed
Yeah.
to be reviewed. It needs to have some kind of and that's such an opinionated call. That's not a clear cut call like some of them are,
Yeah.
like holding, pass
It's
interference.
100% opinion.
Don't get me wrong; those are still to somewhat opinion, but that penalty is drastically on like another level of that. And so,
Yeah.
I don't know. That was frustrating. You got any more
Yeah.
special team
Very,
stats?
very. I can't disagree with you on that. We were obviously very upset with Miles Kilbrew's performance versus the Cardinals, having 3 penalties against him. Got to give him credit. He got himself another blocked punt. That's 2 on the year.
Yep.
So this is now twice in his career with Pittsburgh, which I think is only like 3 years long.
3.
Yeah, twice now he's had 2 blocked punts in a season.
And in the other season,
so,
he had 1, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Just kid's got talent when it comes to that. There's no doubt about it. So, he's basically assuring himself a spot on the roster next year by doing that once again. So, yeah, we got to try to keep our heads up a little on this, have faith that adjustments will be made. And, I think the linebacker play can get better. It has to. It has to. If it remains the same or gets worse, then we're going to be talking about how high of a draft pick can Pittsburgh get by losing out.
Yeah.
So we're going to come back to you guys, though. We got another show coming to you next week, right?
Yeah,
we got Friday's the recap.
Friday.
So we'll be doing our Wednesday show live on the Pro Sports Fans app. And then next Friday, we'll do another show looking forward to the matchup against the Indianapolis Colts.
Woot, woot. Yeah. Which is on Saturday. It's a
Saturday game?
It's a Saturday game. So more than likely the review game or the review show will still come probably Monday. We'll see how to allow the Sunday games to play out. Might as well.
Yeah.
But that is a Saturday, the 23rd. If I'm not mistaken, I can't remember the time of the kick, but we will be looking into all that stuff.
Saturday the 16th.
Oh, the 16th. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my birthday. So we will be watching that game.
Hey, happy birthday, Cody.
Thanks. Hopefully I can watch the game. I just processed that I normally work on Saturdays, so that'll be fun.
Ooh.
I'll figure out a way to watch it. We'll figure it out. But again, we can't thank you guys enough for watching and listening. We're sorry that we have to talk so poorly about our beloved Steelers, but that's just the way it is, the state of the Steelers here. So we thank you guys so much. Be sure to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe and ring that bell. It's free. Don't forget about the 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. If you have an iPhone, go do that right now, and we'll give you a shout out in the next episode. And until next time, this is your host, James and Cody, signing off.
Peace.